we already talk about how much the gut is connected to your heart and your brain health and your full body health. But we also know we have that brain gut connection, that emotional, you feel it in your gut. That's an emotional state, right? So your wife is probably very keen on this. I'm sure you realize that emotional states and mindset, all of that's really important too. Talk to me about your book and talk to me about what have you learned from your wife in terms of how much the emotional and mindset piece goes into heart
Well,
health or general health.
it's fundamental. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just as important as everything else,
Uh-huh.
and maybe more important in some sense. There are a lot of studies showing patients that have a heart attack, if they're depressed, they have a 6-fold increased risk of dying. That's how important it is. There's studies looking at people going into the cardiac cath lab for an angioplasty. And this is men mostly, but if their spouse is there with them, then they have better outcomes than if no one's there with them at the beginning. So, our physical connection to others and our emotional health is very important. And our emotional health is also related to all the other lifestyle factors. My wife is she's a child, adolescent, and adult psychiatrist. And her, the children she sees, a lot of them have a lot of the psychiatric children things like ADHD and depression and anxiety. And many, many of these things are connected to lifestyle.
Sure.
One of the things she recommends as first line for anxiety and depression is exercise. It's an incredible therapeutic for that. And so again, living a life that's good for risk factor reduction is probably a good way to live, because not only do you avoid all these diseases, and the good news is a lot of them have the same risk factors, but you feel better.
Right.
You want to feel good. You want to feel vital.
Vibrant.
You want to, I have a patient, he's 95 years old. He can do a 1-minute plank.
Wow. That's
The guy
great.
has lived an incredible life his whole life. And,
Yeah.
and I just read in National Geographic about a woman who picked up weightlifting at age 60.
Uh-huh.
She became a champion in her class,
Uh-huh.
and now is 90
Ah.
and still is lifting pretty heavy
Yeah.
weights.
Yeah.
So we can stay healthy for a long
Right.
period of time.
Are you familiar with Vonda Wright?
Oh, yes.
We're on this longevity network kind of group chat, and she gave us this article how nobody actually loses their strength until age 75. There's no reason to lose your strength. It's just, basically laziness. Like, you got to work at it. You got to work hard at it. But just, there's no reason that you can be strong into your later life. And
Oh, yeah. I have many patients that are in incredible shape, 75-year-old patients that are in better shape than a lot of my 40-year-old patients. So that's inspiring.
absolutely. Yes.
Because if we see, that's how we wrote the book. We went to Sicily and we studied centenarians and supercentenarians, and we saw what they did, how they lived their life, and the simplicity of their life, the being active all the time. And one of the factors that we came across is that these centenarians and supercentenarians, the thing that really helps them more than anything is that if they're respected by their family and friends, if their grandchildren come up to them and ask them questions and are interested in what they have to say, and they're passing their life experience onto them, it gives them a will to live more than, if you're in a nursing home and you don't really do those kind of things. So, the will to live is a very important thing. So your physical health is connected to that. If you have a good physical health, you have a good will to live, you connect with others, and the process goes on and on.
I love it. I love it. So let me switch gears from all this feel-good stuff. Talk to me about toxins. What should we be avoiding? How can we detect their toxin load? And what do you consider a detox?
Well, first of all, I believe in measuring things.
Perfect.
I think if you don't measure it, you don't know what you're treating.
Okay.
And that's, again, one of the things, we're Vibrant here, but the reason why I'm here is because I like Vibrant. I think Vibrant is a great company.
Exactly.
And I use the testing quite a bit, including, toxin testing and that sort of thing. And if the person has problems, then you can deal with it And, we're in this milieu of toxins around us. But, we could do a lot of things to be detox. I'm not a big proponent of, detoxes in a box kind of thing. I think that using food as a detoxification agent, eating good things like asparagus, artichokes, parsley. In our book, we have this is an ancient recipe. It's olive oil, garlic, parsley that you put on fish. And one of the interesting things about this is that this combination, it not only tastes good, but it chelates out the mercury.
Okay.
And then it binds it in a way that you can't really absorb it. So it takes the mercury a little bit out. And mercury's been in fish for a long time. Mercury is a natural substance that's been in fish for a long time. So somehow, years ago, they discovered that this is, or they use this. You know how traditional cultures can use things that have come up over thousands of years. So this is an interesting thing.
A perfect combination for our health.
Fiber too. Fiber is a very important part of the diet. Not only does it feed the microbiome, but it helps detoxify.
Right.
Keeping your gut motility going quickly. You tend to not absorb things. And then we're big proponents of sauna. And I think there's great data on sauna. And I usually recommend doing sauna 3 times a week, and then doing some kind of shower with, right afterwards to get the detox, the heavy metals off your skin. So, there's data showing that you have a 30% reduction in heart disease if you sauna, 3 times a week. So, very good thing to do.
Are you a proponent of infrared, or if just a standard Finnish sauna your preference?
There's a controversy about that.
Okay.
So I think they're equivalent.
You do.
But the data, the studies in Finland, that's where most of the data comes from, is on traditional saunas, not infrared. But you'd have to do a head-to-head trial to be able to know that. I don't think that's ever going to be done.
I do think the American College of Cardiology has run some studies on infrared sauna, and they can see that cyclic AMP pathway that leads to the nitric oxide.
Oh, yeah. I think that,
even before the heat is reached. So,
I think that, and it also augments your exercise.
Sure.
So the biomarkers that we measure when we exercise get expanded when you do a sauna.
Right.
So it promotes that part of your lifestyle change.